Hello children, I hope you all are doing great. I'm back with another educational video and the lesson that we would do today is from your Moments textbook, and the name of the chapter is The Last Leaf, written by O. Henry. Now before we proceed with the chapter, let me just introduce you to the author O. Henry. William Sidney Porter, widely known by his pet name O. Henry, was born on 11 September 1862. He was an American short story writer, and his short stories are widely read and are best known for their witty dialogues, clever wordplay, and unexpected twist in the end. He was not focused in his aspirations earlier in his life and tried many professions before he finally became a writer. He also started a humorous weekly called the Rolling Stone, featuring his short stories, articles, and sketches. Though his magazine garnered success, it failed to provide him with financial stability. His writing period started in 1902 when he came to New York City. He wrote more than 300 stories during that time. His ready wit and characterizations were adorned by his readers. Cabbages and Kings was his first collection of stories, followed by The 4 Million. Dream was his final work. He died before finishing it. Most of his stories takes place in New York City and are based on common people like policemen, waitresses, poor couples, etc. His famous works are The Gift of Maggie, The Cock and the Anthem, The Last Leaf, The Ransom of Red Chief, and others. He died in the year 1910. Now before we move on to the line-by-line explanation of the chapter, let me just give you a brief summary of the story. Some painters lived in Greenwich Village, part of the city west of Washington Square. Sue and Josie lived together on the third floor of a building. Sue was from Maine and Josie was from California. They met at a restaurant on 8th Street. Since they shared the same interest, especially arts, so they decided to live and work together. During winter, a cold stranger entered Greenwich Village. The doctor called it as Mr. Pneumonia. He always worked around, touching people with his icy finger. He touched Josie and she fell sick. One morning, the doctor told Sue that Josie had a little chance to live. Sue cried in her workroom. Then, to divert her mind, she walked into Josie's room with some painting stuffs. Josie's eyes opened and always looking at the window and counting backward. She was counting the leaves of an old tree on the side wall of the house next to hers. She said that when the last leaf falls, she must die too. Sue didn't agree with what Josie said and felt that it had no connection with her health. She commanded Josie to close her eyes and just sleep. Sue called Mr. Berman to be her model in her work. Mr. Berman lived at the first floor of the same house. He was past 60. He was also a painter and always talked about his masterpiece, but he had never yet started it. He was a kind man and would do everything possible just to help Sue and Josie. Sue told Mr. Berman all about Josie and the leaves on the vine. In the morning, after an hour of sleep, Josie opened her eyes looking towards the window. Sue took the cover from the window. After the strong wind and stormy night, there was still one leaf. It was still dark green and had some yellow part because of the age. Josie said that it will surely fall later and she must die too. The next morning, the leaf was still there. Josie realized that she was a bad girl because she decided to die. But it is wrong to want to die. In that afternoon, the doctor came and said that there's another patient in the house and it was Mr. Berman. He had pneumonia too. In the next day, the doctor came again and said that Josie is safe now. Sue revealed that Mr. Berman died because of pneumonia today in the hospital. He was ill and he was ill for only 2 days. Someone found him helpless and his clothes and shoes were wet and cold as ice. Later it was found that the last leaf was Mr. Berman's masterpiece. Now we will start with the line-by-line explanation of the chapter. Sue and Josie, two young artists, shared a small flat. The flat was on the 3rd story of an old house. So, in the very first line, we get introduced to the two main characters of the story, that is, Sue and Josie. They both are young women and they both are artists. And they used to share a studio apartment, a small flat, at the top of a 3-story old building. Josie fell very seriously ill in November. She had pneumonia. She would lie in her bed without moving, just gazing out of the window. In the month of November, Josie felt seriously ill. She was sick and she was diagnosed with pneumonia. She wouldn't move and she would only lie in her bed, gazing out of her window, of the window of her house. She used to look out. Sue, her friend, became very worried. She sent for the doctor. Since Sue and Josie both used to live together in the same apartment, Sue was very worried about Josie's health condition, and so she sent for a doctor. Although he came every day, there was no change in Josie's condition. The doctor used to visit Josie each and every day, but there was no improvement in Josie's health condition. One day, the doctor took Sue aside and asked her, "Is anything worrying Josie?" The doctor asked Sue that was there anything that was worrying Josie, that was bothering Josie? "No," replied Sue. "But why do you ask?" Sue was shocked that why did the doctor ask such a question. And since Sue and Josie used to share the same flat, same apartment, they were very good friends, she knew everything about Josie. And she replied the doctor that no, there's nothing that she's worried about. The doctor said, "Josie, it seems, has made up her mind that she's not going to get well. If she doesn't want to live, medicines will not help her." The doctor made a very straightforward statement that it seemed that Josie has made up her mind that she will not get well. and she doesn't want to live. And since she made up her mind that she will not get well, that's why the medicine that he is giving her is not working. They're not helping her anymore. Sue tried her best to make Josie take an interest in things around her. She talked about clothes and fashions, but Josie did not respond. Josie continued to lie still on her bed. Since the doctor told Sue that there was something that was bothering her, Sue tried to divert Josie's mind. And what did she do? She started talking about clothes, about fashion in front of Josie. But Josie did not respond to such talks. She did not reply. She just laid on her bed. Sue brought her drawing board into Josie's room and started painting. To take Josie's mind off her illness, she whistled while working. Now, she not only refined, talking about clothes and fashions in front of Josie, but she also, we find her bringing her drawing board into Josie's room, and she starts painting there. And while she was painting, she was whistling. She was making a very soft sound. She was doing all these things only to divert her friend's mind, only to divert Josie's mind, to make her feel better. Suddenly, Sue heard Josie whisper something. She quickly rushed to the bed and heard Josie counting backwards. Suddenly, while she was painting, she heard something. And she quickly rushed towards Josie's bed. And when she went near her, she heard Josie counting backwards in a descending order. She was looking out of the window and was saying 12. After some time, she whispered 11, then 10, then 9, 8, 7. So, she heard Josie counting backwards, not in ascending order, but in descending order. First, she said 12, then 11, 10, then 9, then 8, and then 7. Sue anxiously looked out of the window. Sue was very worried. She also looked out of the window. That what she was looking at, why she was looking outside. She even wanted to see that what she was counting. She saw an old ivy creeper climbing halfway up the brick wall opposite their window. In the strong wind outside, the creeper was shedding its leaves. So, when Sue looked out of the window, what she saw was an ivy creeper, an old ivy creeper. It's a plant, it's a climber, which was climbing up the brick wall which was opposite their window. And since it was almost November, it was autumn, it was shedding its leaves. And Josie was counting the leaves which was present on the tree, which was left on the tree. And that is the reason why she was counting backwards. "What is it, dear?" Sue asked. Sue asked Josie what she was counting. "6," whispered Josie. And just as, Sue asked Josie that what she was counting, she again whispered 6. They are falling faster now. That means the leaves of the tree, the ivy plant, are falling faster now. 3 days ago, there were almost 100 leaves. There are only 5 left now. So, just 3 days ago, there was hundreds of leaves on that ivy plant. And now, after 3 days, there are only 5 leaves left. "It is autumn," said Sue, "and the leaves will fall." Sue tried to convince Josie by saying that it's quite natural for the leaves to shed their leaves in autumn. And since it's autumn now, that is the reason why the trees are shedding their leaves. "When the last leaf falls, I will die," said Josie with finality. "I have known this for the last 3 days." Josie makes a very shocking statement. And what does she say? She said that when the last leaf falls from the ivy tree, I will also die. I have known this tree, I'm watching this tree for the last 3 days, and I'm sure of that when the last leaf from this ivy plant falls, I will also die too. "Oh, that's nonsense," replied Sue. "What have old ivy leaves to do with your getting well? The doctor is confident that you will get better." She just shuns off, the idea. And she says that I cannot find the connection between the old ivy leaves and you getting well. The doctor is confident. He told me that you'll get better. Then why are you saying that, when the last leaf falls, you will die too? There's no connection between you and the old ivy leaves. Josie did not say anything. Sue went and brought her a bowl of soup. To this, Josie did not reply. And Sue went and she brought a bowl of soup for Josie. "I don't want any soup," said Josie. "I'm not hungry." And she refuses to take the soup. And she said that I'm not hungry. I don't want to eat it now. Now there are only 4 leaves left. So we see that the 5th leaf has fallen now. And now only 4 leaves are left. I want to see the last one fall before it gets dark. Then I will sleep forever. She tells Sue that she wants to see the last leaf falling from that tree. She wants to witness the fall of the last leaf herself. And when the last leaf will fall, she will also sleep forever. That means she will also die. Sue sat on Josie's bed, kissed her and said, "You are not going to die." She sat beside her bed. She kissed her and she told her that you're not going to die. I can't draw the curtains for I need the light. I want to finish the painting and get some money for us. Although she wanted to draw the curtain so that it can obstruct her view, but she can't do it right now. Why? This is because she wanted to finish her painting. Only if she finishes the painting, she will get money. And with that money, she will use it for Josie's treatment. That is, she will use that money for Josie's treatment. "Please, my dear friend," she begged Josie, "promise not to look out of the window while I paint." She wanted Josie to promise that she will not look out of the window while she is painting. "All right," said Josie. "Finish your painting soon, for I want to see the last leaf fall. I'm tired of waiting. I have to die, so let me go away peacefully like one of those poor tired leaves." So she says, "All right, you finish your painting, but you finish it fast because I want to see the last leaf fall. I want to see it falling from the tree. And when the last leaf will fall, I will also die. I will also die peacefully, like one of those tired leaves." "Try to sleep," said Sue. "I have to paint an old miner. I will call Berman up to be my model." She tells her to sleep, and she even informs her that she needs to paint an old miner, and Mr. Berman will be her model. Sue rushed down. Berman lived on the ground floor. He was a 60-year-old painter. His long life dream was to paint a masterpiece, but that had remained a dream. So she goes to the ground floor of the same building and meets Mr. Berman. Who is Mr. Berman? Mr. Berman is also a painter. He is 60 years old, and his lifelong dream was to paint a masterpiece, a fantastic art. But this has remained a dream. That means he still didn't paint his masterpiece. He still didn't start working on his masterpiece. She poured out her worries to Berman. She told him how Josie was convinced that she would die when the last leaf fell. She told Mr. Berman everything about Josie. She told him how she felt that, when the last leaf from the ivy plant will fall, she will also die. "Is she stupid?" asked Berman. "How can she be so foolish?" Mr. Berman was also shocked. And she said, and he said that, "Is she mindless? Why is she being so silly?" She is running a high temperature, complained Sue. She refuses to eat and drink, and that worries me a lot. She informs Mr. Berman that she is running a high temperature. Josie has fever and she's not taking her food. And this is worrying Sue a lot. I will come with you and see Josie, Berman said. They tiptoed into the room. They entered the room very silently. Josie was sleeping. Sue drew the curtains together and they went to the next room. She peeped out through the window. There was only one leaf on the creeper. It was raining heavily and an icy cold wind was blowing. It seemed as though the leaf would fall any minute now. Berman did not say a word. He went back to his room. So, they entered Josie's room. They found Josie sleeping. So, they drew the curtains together, and they went to the next room. From that room, they looked out through the window and they saw that only one leaf was there on the creeper. Only one leaf was left, the last leaf. And it was raining heavily outside. An icy cold wind was blowing. And they both knew that any time the last leaf would fall. Mr. Berman, without uttering a single word, he went back to his room. That means he went back to his own house, own apartment, own flat. Josie woke up next morning. The next morning, when Josie woke up from her sleep, in a feeble voice, she asked Sue to draw the curtains. Sue was nervous. She drew back the curtain very reluctantly. Last night, Sue saw that there was only one leaf left, and it was raining heavily. Cold, icy wind was blowing. They knew very well that she knew it very well that the leaf is not there. So, she drew the curtain very reluctantly. She didn't want to draw the curtains. But since Josie wanted her to remove the curtains, she did it. She was very nervous. "Oh!" exclaimed Sue as she looked at the vine creeper. "Look, there is still one leaf on the creeper." And when she looked out of the window, she saw that the last leaf was still there. It looks quite green and healthy. In spite of the storm and the fierce wind, it didn't fall. And she gets very excited, she gets very happy to see that in spite of the storm, in spite of the harsh weather, the leaf did not fall. It's still there. "I heard the wind last night," said Josie. "I thought it would have fallen. It will surely fall today, and then I'll die." So, even Josie tells Sue that, even she is aware of the wind that blew last night. And she said that since it did not fall yesterday, I'm sure today it will fall. And once this leaf falls from the tree, I will also die. "You won't die," said Sue energetically. "You have to live for your friend. What would happen to me if you die?" So, she very enthusiastically, she tells Josie, that what would happen if you die? You have to live for me. Why are you being so selfish? Why are you only thinking about yourself? Why can't you think about me? You can't leave me alone like this. Josie smiled weakly and closed her eyes. After every hour or so, she would look out of the window and find the leaf still there. It seemed to be clinging to the creeper. So, after 1 hour, she kept looking outside of the window. And she saw the last leaf was still there, clinging to the creeper, clinging to the tree, to the plant. In the evening, there was another storm, but the leaf did not fall. Josie lay for a long time looking at the leaf. Then she called out to Sue. In the evening, there was another storm, but the leaf was still there. It did not fall. And this time, she called for Sue. I have been a bad girl. You have looked after me so lovingly, and I have not cooperated with you. I have been depressed and gloomy. The last leaf has shown me how wicked I have been. I have realized that it is a sin to want to die. So, we find Josie apologizing in front of Sue. She tells her that she had been a very bad girl. She did not cooperate with her. She did not care about her. She was always depressed. She was always sad. She was always gloomy. She was the one who drew a connection between the last leaf and her life. And she realized that she had committed a sin, that she wanted to die. By wanting to die, she realized her mistake and she apologized in front of Sue. Sue hugged Josie. She gave her lots of hot soup and a mirror. Josie combed her hair and smiled brightly. Sue forgave Sue, she hugged Josie and then she gave her hot soup. And with that, she also gave a mirror. Josie saw herself in the mirror and she combed her hair and she smiled brightly. In the afternoon, the doctor came. After examining his patient, he told Sue, Josie has the will to live. I am confident she'll recover soon, but I must go downstairs and see Berman. He is also suffering from pneumonia, but I'm afraid there is no hope for him. The doctor examined Josie and he told Sue that Josie is better now and she has regained her willingness to live. And he was confident that she would recover soon. He even informed Josie that he even informed Sue that he must go downstairs and visit Mr. Berman. He is also suffering from pneumonia and his condition is very serious. There is no hope for him. The next morning Sue came and sat on Johnsie's bed. Taking Johnsie's hand in hers, she said, "I have something to tell you. Mr. Berman died of pneumonia this morning. He was ill for only 2 days. The first day, the janitor found him on his bed. His clothes and shoes were wet and he was shivering. He had been out in that stormy night." The next morning, Sue came to Johnsie's room and she sat beside her bed, and she told Josie that Mr. Berman is no more. He died of pneumonia. She told her that the janitor, that is the caretaker, found him on his bed. His clothes were all wet and he was shivering. He had been ill for only 2 days. And he had been out in that stormy night. He was out in that stormy weather. Then they found a ladder and a lantern still lighted lying near his bed. There were also some brushes and green and yellow paints on the floor near the ladder. "Josie dear," said Sue, "look out of the window. Look at that ivy leaf. Haven't you wondered why it didn't flutter when the wind blows? That's Berman's masterpiece. He painted it the night the last fell." So, they both realized, after seeing the ladder, the paints and everything, the brushes, they realized that the last leaf did not move when the wind blows. It did not flutter. It did not fall from the tree. And why so? This is because it was Mr. Berman's masterpiece. The last leaf had fallen long time back, 2 days back. Mr. Berman painted the leaf which now lies clinging to the tree. So the last leaf which Josie saw was the leaf that was painted by Mr. Berman. Now let us discuss the theme of the story. O. Henry's The Last Leaf explores the theme of friendship and self-sacrifice. Not only we get to experience a deep and sincere bond of friendship between Sue and Josie, but also the self-sacrifice of old Berman. The friendship between Sue and Josie is marked by love, loyalty, sacrifice and sincerity for each other. For example, when Josie falls sick with pneumonia, Sue looks after her, nurses her and comforts her, thus bringing out the idea of being beside a friend through thick and thin situation. Berman, who considers himself to be the mastiff of Sue and Josie, makes up his mind to save the young girl's life. He goes out in that cold and paints an ivy leaf after the last leaf has fallen. In this process, he himself suffers from acute cold and succumbs to death. Thus, he sacrifices his life to save Josie. The story also brings out the theme that life is precious and faith and hope should never be lost. We may have hurdles in life, but we should overcome those hurdles in high spirit. Now let us learn the meanings of some difficult words. Ivy is the name of a creeper. Shedding means letting to fall. Finality means in conclusion. Miner means a person who works in a mine. Masterpiece is the work of highest achievement. Feeble means weak. Tiptoed, walked on toes without a noise. Reluctantly, unwillingly. Energetically, with enthusiasm. Gloomy means sad. Janitor means a person who looks after the building or a caretaker. Shivering means shaking in cold. Flutter means to move. Wicked means evil. Thank you so much, children, for watching this video. Thank you.